Yeah.
off to a bucket with cement in it and chained up.
Good evening, board members and residents. I'd like to call to order the regular board meeting for Monday, July 27, 2015. I'd ask everyone to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Batanti.
Here.
Mr. Brado.
Here.
Mr. Capral.
Here.
Mr. Tominello.
Here.
Mr. York.
Here.
Mr. Witt here. Mr. Verkest.
Here. Next on our agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, including approval of the regular board meeting minutes of July 13th, 2015, approval of the bills in the amount of $1,238,898.17, approval of the June 2015 revenue and expenditure report, approval to award concrete replacement to Premier Concrete Incorporated in the amount of $8,500, and approval of additional fees in the amount of $3,300 to Stewart, Bouvet, and Whipple for additional required reporting. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Is there support?
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. York with support by Mr. Capral to approve the consent agenda, including the bills in the amount of $1,238,898.17. Discussion, board members? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the approval of the regular agenda. Board members, I didn't hear any amendments, so I'd be looking for a motion to approve the agenda as it's written.
So moved, Mr. Chair. Support.
Got a motion by Mr. Tominello, with support by Mr. York to approve the agenda. Discussion? Hearing none and seeing no public comment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next on the agenda is supervisor and board announcements. First, I'll welcome everybody to the meeting. We've certainly a lot of new faces. I know there's a particular agenda item that a lot of folks came, so I'll explain that on each agenda item, if a motion is made and supported, if the board literally makes a motion to take action on the item, before we'll take a vote, we do open up the floor for public comment. The public comments need to be limited to the item that we're discussing. So, for example, if we're going to vote on a resolution to honor Mr. Anders, if you want to come up and say something for or against it, you can, but for that item, we only talk about that issue. At the end of the meeting, we also have a segment for public comment whereby we accept public comments on any subject 5 minutes in length. So, so that's kind of how we do things. And welcome, if I didn't say that. As far as announcements, our Harrison Township Public Library is proud to announce their grand opening celebration Saturday, August 8th at 12:30 p.m. The celebration will start with a ribbon cutting ceremony at 12:30 p.m., followed by an ice cream social and refreshments provided by the Friends of the Harrison Township Public Library. The grand opening event celebrates the expansion of the library's hours of service. New hours of service will go into effect this Monday, coming Monday, a week from today, August 3rd, 2015. The new hours will be Monday 10 to 6 p.m., Tuesday noon to 8 p.m., Wednesday noon to 8 p.m., Thursday 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., Friday 2 to 6 p.m., Saturday noon to 4 p.m., and Sunday they're closed. So we're excited to see the expansion of the library. The Macomb County Office of Senior Services is seeking volunteers to deliver hot, nutritious meals to homebound senior citizens in Macomb County. Meals on Wheels is a program that delivers these healthy meals right to the door Monday through Friday at around lunchtime each day. Please contact the Macomb County Office of Senior Services at 586-469-5228, or you can visit mccsa.macombgov.org to volunteer. Also like to give a little report on an event that happened over the weekend, Aquapalooza, for those of you that may have had a chance to go. I'm sure you had a good time, but if not, it was a free event, a concert on the lake Saturday and Sunday. The promoter estimated about 21,000 attendees, 3,200 boats out in the lake. And there were a number of bands that performed both Saturday and Sunday, and we were blessed with beautiful weather. So thanks to all the folks that sponsored that event and promoted it. It's something that brought some attention to Harrison Township and our lakefront, and no cost to us, the taxpayers. So thanks to all the promoters and marinas that helped with that. The Parks and Rec Committee is hosting Park It, which is a free movie at the Waterfront Park at the south end of the township off of Jefferson. It's scheduled for Thursday, August 27th. The event starts at 6 p.m. At 6:30 p.m., the George Brothers Band will be performing. They play pop music covers. And the movie begins at 8:30 p.m. This year, the movie they're playing is How to Train a Dragon 2. So it's a fun family event for kids and families and everyone else. So certainly encourage you to stop by there. For all of these events or others, you can find information and links on the township's website, harrison-township.org. And you can always call the supervisor's office at 466-1445 if you have questions about any of these events. Are there any other board announcements?
Mr. Supervisor, just real quick, the clerk's office applied for and have received a grant from the state to expand handicap accessibility in the voting precincts. We'll receive 10 new wheelchair accessible voting booths. That should make it easier for those individuals who are in a wheelchair to be able to get out and vote and use their precinct safely.
Excellent, good. So that would potentially could be one for each precinct.
It is one for each precinct. Yep.
Great, all right, good. Well, thank you, congratulations. If there's no other announcements, we'll move on to the agenda. Item B, proposed rezoning request from the Kroger Company to rezone the properties at 27147 Kroger, Crocker, 27177 Crocker, and 27217 Crocker from R1C to B3 to accommodate a Kroger fuel station. Board members, Kroger filed an application to rezone the properties at 27147 Crocker, 27177 Crocker, and 27217 Crocker from R1C to B3 to accommodate a Kroger fuel station. After holding a public hearing and taking the recommendation of the township planner, the Planning Commission recommended denial of the request. Specifically, the motion that was made was motion by Member Tominello, supported by Member Baccia, based on the aforementioned conditions, which are in those minutes, to recommend a denial of this rezoning request, and that motion was carried. I don't know if there's any discussion or a motion by this board.
Was there someone from Kroger that wants to speak first, or?
We can certainly allow that if the board has no problem, if the representative from Kroger would like to address the board.
I think that's
Good
part of the
evening,
due process.
Matthew Pisco, 37704 Hills Tech Drive, Farmington Hills, Michigan. Just want to let you know, as a consultant for Kroger, the only instruments we can use is what the township provides. We looked at the ordinance, we looked at the master plan, and the property that we proposed to rezone, figure 9.6 in the master plan showed that it was, future use was B3 general business, which was consistent with the fuel station we were proposing. If you look at figure 9.6 today on the website, it still shows it to be B3. We applied in good faith, saying it was a forward-thinking, consistent with the master plan. We thought it was, I know it's caused a lot of consternation, but being mid-lot, we thought it would be between two commercial properties as shown in figure 9.6, that it would be an appropriate use. We could adequately screen, the hours were limited, they're far less than Sentimental Lady and the fire station, and we proceeded in that vein. During the subsequent submittal, the master plan was augmented, although it's not reflected again on the website, to be single-family residential, and we accept that. But that's, was the intent of our application. And I know, I recognize a lot of the folks back here, I'm the one that's presented all 3 times, but this was not to cause heartburn for the residents. We went in good faith, we were presented with a piece of property that was master planned to be general business, which is consistent with the use we're proposing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
I will,
If you don't mind, if I would make the motion?
absolutely.
All right, thanks. Mr. Supervisor, I'd offer a motion to deny and uphold the planning commission's recommendation for the rezoning of property 27147 Crocker, 27177 Crocker, and 27217 Crocker, for the reasons that the property in question is currently developed as single-family housing. The proposed rezoning is, the proposed rezoning is consistent with the previous terms of the master plan. However, the waterfront redevelopment plan was adopted as an amendment to the master plan and designates this location as single-family residential. The waterfront redevelopment plan took a specific view of the area in determining the proper land use for this location. The surrounding land uses are a mixture of residential and commercial. The areas across the street and to the southeast are commercial. However, the properties directly behind the parcels in question are single-family. Therefore, a single-family is a compatible zoning designation at this particular location. And also that the current zoning reasonably addresses a legitimate government interest, that being the protection of the health, safety, and welfare of the general public.
Support.
All right, we've got a motion by Mr. Witt with support by Mr. Tominello, and while I won't reread that because it was a lengthy motion, to uphold the planning commission's recommendation to deny the rezoning at the 3 parcels that were previously mentioned. I'll offer first any discussion that board members have, and if there is anyone here from the public that wishes to address the board, we ask you to sit in the on-deck chairs. That way we know that there is an interest for public comment. Are there any board members that have any comments? Hearing none, we'll open up the floor for public comments.
Ladies first.
Okay.
We could flip a coin.
Yeah, we could. We could flip each other. My name is Claire Fackler, 26380 Beamer. I am an almost 68-year resident of Harrison Township, so I've seen all kinds of development. That particular corner is congested 95% of the day. I'm talking day and night. We already have 1 gas station, 2 bars, and an auto repair shop. If you turn right, you've got 2 marinas, boat stores, the DNR launch. We have another gas station down the road. If you go left, you've got more bars, party stores, restaurants. I hope that you all agree to deny this request. If Kroger really wants to have a fuel station in this area, perhaps they should consider what they're doing in the Utica area and buy an existing gas station. If Speedway doesn't want to sell, check with Clark on down the road on Jefferson. But we do not need one on that corner. It's busy enough. Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank Lawrence, 26940 Beamer Street, Harrison Township, Michigan. Been a resident there for about 25 years. My only question is that if you deny this tonight, as the gentleman said, that we can get rid of that future B3 classification for that area of property to being noted that it could become commercial at some time in the future. So we don't have to come back here because we will.
Hi, my name is Patricia Palomo. I live in Harrison Village, and I'm coming about the Kroger. I just feel that we already have a gas station on Jefferson and Crocker, and it's gonna be more congestion, more traffic, accidents. I've seen a few accidents already down by the Kroger store where there's been ambulances and the fire department. And the people that live behind on Beamer I don't think it's fair for them to have a gas station right by them. I would be across the street, I wouldn't like it, but for the people on Beamer, I think that's a shame. I just, and I really hope, I think the board sounds like they're gonna deny this, and I hope they do, because we definitely do not need another gas station. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Linda Josephat, 27021 Beamer Street, Harrison Township. I agree with the traffic, but that's really not my major concern. My major concern is when I moved in there 18 years ago, I wanted to put a gravel driveway across the front of the property, so when I had parties, my people had somewhere to park, because we have no parking on our street, on that side. I was advised I was not allowed to do that because it wasn't safe for the fire station. So I'm thinking, if it's not safe for the fire station, the truck wouldn't be able to pull out of the driveway just for that little for a little patch of gravel. How in the world are they gonna be able to pull out of the driveway with the gas station next door and traffic lined up? So that's my concern. That fire station is way too important for our township, and we need them to be out of there as fast as possible, not to be stuck waiting, trying to get out of their parking lot because traffic's backed up because of the light and all the other businesses. And it's packed up a lot. I mean, a lot of times I can't even get in the left turn lane to turn, on Jefferson to get to my street. So my main concern is the fire station. No way, no how should that gas station be put in there. Thank you.
Thank you.
William Bardell, 18-year resident, new kid on the block. I want to thank you, Mr. Tominello, Mr. Witt, for seconding the motion and hopefully standing by your planning commission. Kroger can buy the gas station at 16 and Harper and take out the tanks, clean the ground, and do that. And I appreciate you seconding the motion, Mr. Tominello and Mr. Witt, and standing by your planning commission. I hope everyone stands by your planning commission, and thank you.
Thank you.
Jim Senstock, 31698 San Juan. I attended most of these hearings concerning this Kroger gas station, and to my recollection and to the minutes that you have, there was only one person in the whole time that came in front of the planning commission that was supportive of it, and that was the person that was going to sell one of the houses. So it's pretty well universally disliked in the area. The question I have and the concern I have is that Kroger is not going to walk away. They're going to do something. They're going to sue us. They're going to do whatever. So then what I'm asking, or what I'm suggesting, and I may be wrong, but I believe that if Mr. Tominello made the motion at the planning commission, I believe he has to recuse himself on voting on that in this particular instance, rather than voting for it. And this, if I'm right, this would give them something to come back and scream about. If I'm wrong, well, I brought it up. But I believe that you need somebody else to second that motion, and I believe Mr. Tominello has to recuse himself. Having sat on the Planning Commission and also on the ZBA, I know that any time that as a member of this board that I voted on something that came back in front of this board, that I would had to recuse myself. So I guess you can ask your attorney or not. I say that because I don't want them to have them being Kroger, have any way to come back at this township board for anything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board. Randy LaForest, very long-time resident. I just want to commend you, hopefully, for doing something that the residents actually want and not what they don't want, which is what you usually do. So, thank you for, if you should vote this down or pass, deny it, because it is what the residents want, and that's what you're up there for. is to do what we want, not what your grand scheme of things want. So, thank you in advance. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, Dan Hogan, 27140 Beamer. First of all, Mr. Witt, thank you very much for your motion. Mr. Tamanello, I know you've been working with us right along. I appreciate your efforts. I emailed a couple of board members when this first started with my phone number and everything else, and didn't have the courtesy of an email back, which is one of my pet peeves. So I had to get up here, and since I wrote the speech, I might as well give it anyway. First of all right, let's start with a few things that we all know. First is, we don't need another gas station, especially in that area. We have 6 of them in a 2-square-mile radius. Also, we're a lakefront community. That's our selling point. We don't need to put any more toxins in the soil. I know Kroger's will tell us that it's safe. Same thing they told Grand Rapids. Same thing they told Gulf Shores, California. It's that promise. Also, Kroger's, with their talking about the fire station and their hours. One group saves lives. One puts gas in the gas tank. They're not on the same page. Everybody's mentioned that quarter is too busy. You guys haven't even started your downtown development yet. So if that plan takes off, that's just gonna add a whole bunch more traffic. It's zoned residential in the master plan. Not future, it is zoned residential in the master plan. The zoning board and the planner have both already rejected it. We would appreciate if you just back the people you put in that office. Now some things you board members may not know. First, one of the 3 homes that is supposed to be sold here is owned by Mark Wazinski, who is in the Downtown Development Authority and Citizen Council. So obviously, it appears to us like we have another person in power just trying to get his, just trying to pad his own pocket. Second, a story that no one's heard yet, except for us, devastates me. One of the other 3 homeowners approached Mr. Burkest and asked if he could help her stop this. Said that they bought a home in Harrison Township 22 years ago to retire in it. They love their backyard. They love their neighborhood. And he told them, no, this is good for Harrison Township. In the process, one of these loyal Harrison Township residents had a heart attack. Obviously, partly stress from the constant bullying that the vulture from Kroger's was putting on them. They vehemently said no, they did not want to sell their home. They wanted to stay there. After the heart attack, this spouse of 42 years wasn't allowed to mourn. Within 2 weeks, Mr. Gonzalez, the Kroger's real estate guy, saw this as an opportunity and started shoving paperwork in her nose, saying that we need you out. You're the only one holding this up. The residents want you out. This person didn't know that there were a whole bunch of other people that didn't want her out. So I'll end, because I know my time's up. This person now has somebody living with them, has a whole bunch of neighbors that love and care about him. And the bullying is definitely going to stop here. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
Hi, Albert Crooks, 27100 Beamer Street. My southeast corner of my lot would butt up against this fueling station. I moved to Harrison Township about 13 years ago because I thought it would be a great place to raise a family. It kind of has an up-north atmosphere. It's quiet, great schools, everything you could ask for. I have 2 young children. Now, Kroger would like to put a gas station 100 feet from my back door. Now, I would ask any of you, if you would want a gas station 100 feet from your back door in an already congested area, we have the fire department. For him to even bring the fire department into this, those guys are the best neighbors you could ever have, one. Two, they don't blow their sirens unless they hit Jefferson or unless they hit 16 Mile late at night. I know that the representative from Kroger has stated, well, we're not open that many hours and the noise won't be an issue. We don't have televisions on our pumps. Okay, that's fine, but let's live in the real world for 1 minute. Have you ever been to Speedway on a Friday night? Have you ever listened to the radios blaring? Have you ever been there at 6 o'clock in the morning when the fishermen are filling up their boats getting ready to go out on the lake? This is gonna be 100 feet from my back door. It's not just about me, it's about my neighbors. It's about our neighborhood. We love our neighborhood. I could never even consider moving out of this neighborhood. Now, and then on a personal financial issue, I contact 2 real estate agents and say, okay, if this gas station goes in behind me, what impact financially will it have on me? Both of them. Bare minimum 15% hit the day that that gas station opens on your property value. To me, that is 100% unacceptable. There are plenty of other places where a fueling station can go. There's no reason to knock down 3 perfectly good homes so Kroger can have a massive cash flow machine between their grocery store and their fueling station. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the floor for public comment and we'll move back to board comment. I'll do my best to answer some of the questions that were presented, and I know there may be comments that our board members have. In the order of things I wrote down, the first question was, what about a potential future B3 designation? There are different processes that are dictated by state law. So the very fact that we have a planning commission and a zoning board of appeals, and this board, in fact, is all based on various state acts that establish charter townships and establish how we go about the business of zoning, rezoning, and addressing ordinance issues. There will undoubtedly be a future master plan that the Planning Commission would undertake. We can look throughout the history of the township, and there are various parts of the township that have been zoned different ways or recommended to be rezoned. I think there was a high-rise district at one time that was in one section of the township, and at a later master planning session, the Planning Commission at that time relocated that. So there is a future process, but those are all things dictated by state law. So what a property is and what it can be rezoned to and what that process is a pre-established thing. So could there be future designations on any parcel? I don't think any board member could say no, there can't be. There could be both requests from property owners as well as recommendations. Mr. Huth, I know one of the residents raised a question about Mr. Tominello's role for Planning Commission and the ability to second a motion as well as recuse himself if necessary. Do you have an opinion for us?
I do have an opinion on this one. I differ than the resident. Sometimes we agree, not here. He is required to vote on this act, and it's pursuant to Michigan law, completely appropriate.
Okay, all right, good. There was a comment by one resident saying that they'd emailed me and I didn't reply, or perhaps they emailed me. I've tried to reply. I have 2 emails that I received today regarding the subject that came in at the end of the day that I hadn't replied to. I've replied to any email I've received on this. And I can also say that in terms of not only emails, but in conversation with residents, when I've had discussions about what I think is a good idea and what I've supported, I've certainly been supportive of the notion of the Downtown Development Authority and the ability to capture tax revenue for the purposes of making public improvements to a neighborhood. And I've been pretty outspoken publicly and in conversation with residents. I have no recollection of ever saying to a resident individually that I thought that this was an issue that needed to occur. On the contrary, I've been rather guarded in having those conversations because I know that this sort of a thing can lead to litigation. I'd also like to clarify, there is one of the residents who also is a homeowner in this. He is not a member of our Downtown Development Authority, but he did serve as a member of the Citizens Council. The Citizens Council is a body of citizens that must live in the district who are supposed to, for lack of a better word, sort of be a watchdog or an overseer of the DDA process. I think it's important to understand that there is no limit to the size of the Citizens Council. We had not refused anyone who applied for the Citizens Council, because by its very nature, if we're saying that we're going through an open process, anyone who submitted an application to serve on the Citizens Council in an oversight fashion and lived in the district was approved by this board to serve in that capacity. And anyone who's here today who says, I would like to also serve in that capacity, I encourage you to do so. We through the website, through board meetings, and certainly through personal contact with folks that we might know, we've tried to reach out and encourage folks to participate in that process and oversee the process. All of the meetings are open. But there's a difference between being on the Citizens Council, where you have an oversight, and being on the Downtown Development Authority Board, where there's some perceived ability to vote on and approve or deny recommendation of certain things. Mr. Wisniewski does not serve on the Downtown Development Authority Board, so a point of clarification. I don't know if there's any other board comment, but I just wanted to address answers to questions.
You know, I'm hesitant in saying anything because of possible litigation, but I'll say this. When we said B3 of the waterfront development community, I took that as we wanted to put a pier in, put some restaurants and things. I don't think that we ever envisioned that that waterfront development, which is sort of aside, the master plan has the full rights, and then we have this secondary plan, which, you know, might take 30, 40, 50 years for people to develop it. You know, as people move in and out, you develop it. I don't think we ever envisioned that there would be a gas station in that area. I think we envisioned it more of a restaurant, pier, walking area, not a gas station. So just point of clarification on that.
Fair enough. Any other board comment? Hearing none, we have a motion by Mr. Witt with support by Mr. Tominello. And again, I apologize, you'd given a lengthy motion. I think the board understood that, but it was to basically uphold the Planning Commission's recommendation to deny the Kroger Company's request to rezone the properties at 27147 Crocker, 27177 Crocker, and 27217 Crocker from R1C to B3. Is there a need to repeat the motion in totality?
No, but I wonder if the board would consider roll call.
Yes, I was gonna recommend that.
Okay.
Yep. But if you're satisfied with that a partial repeat of the motion?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. Witt, yes. Mr. Tominello?
Yes.
Mr. Batanti?
Yes.
Mr. Brado?
Yes.
Mr. Capral?
Yes.
Mr. York?
Yes.
Mr. Verkust?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you, board. And thanks, everyone, to those who came out to address the board. Oftentimes, we don't hear from a lot of residents on topics, so it's helpful to know where everybody stands. So thank you for your support. Thank you. Thank you. Next on our agenda is item C, a resolution honoring Robert Anders. The Charter Township of Harrison Board of Trustees has the following resolution. Whereas Robert Anders has given distinguished service, dedication, and devotion to Harrison Township, and whereas Robert Anders served in the Maintenance Department during his 6-year tenure with Harrison Township, and whereas Robert Anders has provided exceptional, dedicated service to Harrison Township board members, employees, and residents, and whereas Robert Anders has successfully maintained and manicured township grounds, including Waterfront Park, William Tucker Park, Trombley Park, Orvolani Park, all bike path-related grounds, and whereas Robert Anders has performed his duties with the highest level of professionalism and courtesy, now therefore be it resolved that on behalf of the residents of Harrison Township, the Board of Trustees wishes to thank Robert Anders for his service to the community and to wish him long life and happiness. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Support.
We've got a motion by Mr. York, with support by Mr. Brado to approve the resolution. Discussion, board members.
Well, I just wanted to say, you know, it's been a pleasure working with Bob. We know him as Bob,
Right.
not Robert, but Bob. And he's moving out of state, and we wish him all the happiness in the world.
Absolutely, I agree. If there's no other discussion, we have a motion by Mr. York with support by Mr. Brado to approve the resolution. Mr. Witt, will you please take the roll call?
Yes, Mr. York,
Yes.
Mr. Brado,
Yes.
Mr. Batanti,
Yes.
Mr. Capral,
Yes.
Mr. Tominello.
Yes.
Mr. Witt, yes. Mr. Verkust.
Yes, thank you. Motion passes. Next on our agenda is item D1 from the clerk's office regarding replacement election equipment. Mr. Witt.
Thank you. Next year will be a very busy year election-wise. We have 3 elections, the presidential primary, the statewide primary, and then the state general election and presidential election. In getting prepared for that, the clerk's office went through and reviewed what equipment we had, what equipment we needed to be able to meet what will most likely be a very busy time and very busy precincts for those elections. As part of that, we are requesting approval to purchase some new voting booths, some wheeled ballot bags, and privacy screens. Many of our voting booths are broken and are exceptionally unstable. And right now, we only have approximately 6 booths per precinct. What happens is the booths are basically aluminum briefcases, and when, from the in and out motion of those legs, the holder breaks, and so it becomes unstable and difficult for people to actually be able to fill in that small little circle, or we just can't use them at all. Also, we have ballot bags that are exceptionally heavy and difficult to carry, even for myself. They're filled with 3,000 ballots for each precinct, and at the end of the night, when you're trying to pack things up, they're very difficult to move around. So what we're looking to do is replace our voting booths to bring us up to 10 voting booths per precinct, and we're also going to be purchasing new ballot bags that have wheels on the bottom and an extended handle, more like what you see in airline luggage, so you can move it. Our old election bags will be used as the supply bags, so they're not going in the trash or anything. We'll be using them for a different purpose. They'll be stackable on top of the new bags, and we're going to take our supply bags that are old and actually have holes in them and don't hold everything we need because of all the different requirements that we have to post signs. They're unfortunately too small. We're going to try and find a different use for them if we can, but if not, they'll be disposed of. Another thing that we'll be looking to purchase are some privacy screens. These are simple corrugated plastic foldable items that we can put on lunch tables or banquet tables to provide additional voting booths should one precinct be really busy and there's a line. Our goal is to avoid lines, to get people in and get people voting and get people home. People that come out should be able to vote in a reasonable time frame. We went out and got pricing for all this. The booths cost $99 each. It's a total of $4,257. The 12 ballot bags with wheels, they're $154 each. And then there are 13 privacy screens at a cost of $7 each. I'm sorry, they're not $154. It's $1,540 for all 12 of them. So I accidentally did my math wrong. So the total cost we're looking for is just over $6,000, $6,002.68 for those purchases. And again, we did receive additional wheelchair accessible voting booths at no cost to residents through the state of Michigan for a grant. So I'd be happy to answer any questions or.
I got a question.
Yes.
Why only 13 privacy screens?
They-
Like a
they're-
presidential election, right?
They're a
I
pack.
mean,
It's 13 packs
well, why don't we
of
order
them.
like 30? I mean,
They're
it's like
packs of
$7. It's
13.
nothing.
So the total quantity is how many?
I think there's 4 in a thing, so we have a pack.
Well, I'm just asking,
So there's
I
around
don't know
50
if
or
you want more. I mean,
Yeah.
I know on presidential day, having like a little $7
We
thing.
have some. We
Okay.
were supplementing what we have because we didn't have enough for everything.
just wanna make
So it's
sure you're-
13 packs, which is,
Yeah.
this is maybe over 50.
Yeah,
Right?
so we should
Oh,
have enough. We should have
oh,
like they're
okay.
packs
I'm
of them.
reading
So,
that wrong.
and
Okay.
they're cheap. They're just plastic, and we use them in emergency just to. Keep
I was just
lines
thinking
in control.
13 doesn't seem like a big number to me if they're.
No, we
Yeah,
have and we have some. So we
Right.
didn't want to. There's no need to replace
That's fine.
everything. So we're gonna try and use what we have.
So you'll have 5 or 6 per precinct.
Yeah, in the event
And
we
some
need 'em.
precincts are always.
All our precincts share a facility, so if one is more busy than the other, we can reallocate some of the voting booths.
Do we need to make a motion?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and another question that I had, and I'm not sure if this is covered, and I apologize, I noticed that shipping was noted, and I just want to make sure that that $6,002.68 includes some quantity for shipping.
It does.
Okay.
Mr. Wood, what is it, can you clarify the funding source for me? I don't,
Election, we have a line item that's for equipment and
out of
elections
separate.
department, yeah.
That's, is
So
that
j-
reimbursed by the state?
No, it's not.
It's not, okay.
So just to be clear, while we're here,
Yeah, we're purchasing.
the 1540 is really 1908, is that what that is, or,
No,
No.
we went with the
Okay.
low, we went and got prices from 3 different companies, and so
That's
we're
fine.
ordering ballot bags from GBS, we're ordering poll booths from Election Source, and
Ah,
the privacy
okay.
screens from Election.
Okay.
So,
right.
you know, we didn't wanna, it's
I
nice
just
when you
wanna
work
make
with one
sure-
company, but we went with the cheapest and,
Yeah.
it's a.
I
there's
just
a
wanna make sure you have
significant
enough money,
difference.
that's why I'm asking, you know,
Yeah.
get an
I'll make
exact
the-
amount, it turns out.
I'll make
to
the
be-
motion to approve to purchase 43 new voting booths and 13 packs of privacy screens from Election Source, 12 wheeled ballot bags from GBS at a total cost of $6,002.68.
Support. We've got a motion by Mr. Brado, with support by Mr. Batanti. Discussion, board members? Hearing none, we'll open up the floor for public comment.
Yeah, William Bardell. Now, did you ever find out where these are built at? Or is this another race to the bottom? We're gonna buy some Japanese or Chinese-made stuff. The 3 estimates, did you find out exactly where these are made at? Because, maybe we get something made in the US of A for maybe 1% more and not put our neighbors out of work. So did you look into that? Carry on.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comment, we'll close the floor for public comment, move back to board comment. Mr. Witt, can you comment on that?
Yeah, the 2 companies that we're purchasing from are both Michigan-based companies, and the majority of their products are made in the United States. I don't know these specifically, but they are Michigan companies that employ people throughout the state of Michigan on the sale of these. The majority of their products, I believe, the bags are made in the United States because they put it on most of their things. The booths I couldn't speak to right now.
All right. Any other board comment? Hearing none, we have a motion to approve to purchase 43 new voting booths and 13 packs of 5 privacy screens from Election Source and 12 wheeled ballot bags from GBS at a total cost of $6,002.68. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, board. Next on our agenda is regarding CDBG funds, specifically the plans for the senior center expansion project. Mr. Witt?
Yes, at our May 11th board meeting, the board authorized Wade Trim to prepare plans for the expansion of the Tucker Senior Center. These documents are prepared and before you tonight for your consideration. The cost estimate for the work, and at this point this is just an estimate, is $270,472.18. We have $228,500 available from our block grant funds for this project. There's some additional work that's before you based on some recommendations that we received from individuals at the senior center, what we received from input from our bus drivers, including the installation of a canopy, some driveway repair work, as well as a refurbishment of the kitchen to allow for the Meals on Wheels to have a more space to work. But because of the cost estimate, the $270,000 just covers the basic construction cost for the core work. We separated those other items out as work to be done at a future date because it was so far above what the block grant allocation is. What we'd be looking for tonight would be board authorization to approve these plans and direct the Wade Trim to prepare bid documents and go out for bid and with those results to come back for the board, at which time we'd make a final determination on the project and how to proceed. Last week, we had a meeting with Macomb County. They handle our block grant allocations. They're still working on issuing the contracts that give us the grant dollars because of the location of the Tucker Senior Center, there was some additional environmental work that they had to do, because it's near a floodplain. They have to go and make sure we're not gonna put it over an endangered plant or something. So they're finishing that up now, and they should have the contracts for us shortly. We can't go out for bid until those are done. But we're hoping if we get everything turned around quickly, we go out for bid, and the board decides to move forward with the project, we'd be able to start construction hopefully this year, as long as everything goes smoothly, and depending on the weather, hopefully get done this year. But part of that's dependent on the county getting us the contracts, and part of that's seeing what the bids come back at and where we decide to go with that. So the packets has the plans there, so really what we're looking for tonight is just you to approve the plans, and just for the people that don't have them in front of them. Essentially what we'd be doing is adding an additional, pretty much doubling the size of the senior center to allow for 2 separated meeting spaces, and at a future date, the potential for 3 meeting spaces, with a movable wall through the middle of one. It'll also update the restrooms. That was one of the big complaints that we hear from our seniors that use the facility, is that the doors are heavy, they're difficult to use. There's sharp angles that are, if you have a walker or a wheelchair, or even just difficult walking, it's difficult to make the turns, it's difficult to get to the restrooms. So it would be new restroom facilities. Also, there would be a outdoor covered veranda. Some people like to be outdoors and not in the sun, and this provides some space for our seniors who use the facility to be out there and have another area to enjoy it, something that we can offer for people that go there. In the future, part of what we were looking for, this includes to do an airlock, a vestibule foyer area. So when somebody arrives there in the middle of winter, they don't open the door and a blast of cold air goes through. It'd be a double door, so that would help people as they walk in, keep the temperature better, make it cheaper to heat the building, make it cheaper to cool the building. In the future, part of the items we have here were the kitchen expansion, which we'd take one of the restrooms and turn it into more of a kitchen. Right now, the kitchen overflows into the main activity area. One of the items would be to redo the driveway. Right now, it's a rectangular parking lot, and our buses nose in, and it's not the most ideal for the buses to get in and out, or for people to be able to park around them. And it also makes it difficult for our seniors who use our shuttles to get into the building. We'd be looking at a future date to install a dedicated bus lane that would loop around the front of the building and provide a better access. One of the options we have before us is to include a canopy over that, which would provide protection from the wind, rain, and make it, we'd have limited problems with ice in the winter and that kind of stuff. So, but those are something to be done at a future date. In conversations with the county at our meeting, one of the items that they said was, right now we get our block grant allocation every 3 years, and they're looking to change that possibly to an annual allocation, so going back to the way they used to do it. So there's the potential that we would have approximately $90,000 available next year, should they decide to change it, and we'll know before the end of the year what they're doing. So we would be able to take some of these additional projects and maybe use block grant monies to achieve those at a future date. That would be the goal anyway.
So also the additional space that's shown on the plans has a common wall that we could include maybe French doors or glass, some openings, so that if there was a need to have a larger meeting, you could have, kind of almost an L-shaped meeting where the central point might be in one corner and folks in both rooms would be able to access it. So we could handle large crowds and kind of treat it as a common space.
Yes.
And like Mr. Witt pointed out, the estimate from the engineer currently shows that if we did the basic amount of work, we're $42,000 short. If we did all the work and all the bonuses, we're a little over $90,000 short. But if the county decides to go back to annual funding instead of funding every 3 years, there's gonna be, it's reasonable to expect some part of $90,000 that could be available. So approving these plans, first of all, doesn't require that this work begins. We would still be in a position to pursue, the estimates.
Correct.
And when those estimates come back, we still have a potential of a future funding source that would cover the majority of these overages, if that's how the estimates come back.
Yeah, and when we get the bids back, there's a couple line items that we could look at tweaking here or there to maybe save us $1,000 here or there. Not tens of thousands of dollars, but, thousands of dollars. Depending on how the bids come back, we'll have to look at that and make an evaluation of the bid before we go out and award the work and start that project. So that'll be something that we'll have to decide at a future date.
And reminding the board that these are federal dollars, so they come with Davis-Bacon requirements. So the process of bidding this and giving out the work, prevailing wage, wage surveys, all those additional things, whether we like it or not, are required to spend these dollars.
Yeah, and part of the cost is, even for the contractor, when they bid on it, they have increased reporting requirements. They were telling a story of a contractor from 4 or 5 years ago. They had to go back and do an audit because they didn't have some wage records, and they had to go back through and find them, and, everyone gets in trouble if they don't have them because of the federal requirements, so.
And, Mr. Newmer, I know you and your firm have put a lot of work on this. I don't know if there's something we missed or some additional thoughts you might say, hey, don't forget about this, or.
No, I think you did a great job covering the concept for the project, and if you approve these plans tonight, we'll get started on the construction drawings immediately.
Now, from a time frame standpoint, you get the construction drawings, and then eventually bid out the project. Is there, through that federally regulated process, is there a time frame that those bids are good for? Is there a requirement? How does that work?
We would typically write into the construction documents that the bids that we would receive would be good for a period of either 60 or 90 days, so that the board has some time to evaluate the bids and come to a decision on whether or not to award it.
So then if I could ask, there's a construction drawing process, then there'd be a bid process, and then there's a 90 days. Can you help us understand what the construction drawing timeline might be, and then how long to prepare the bid documents?
We're probably looking at 3 to 4 weeks to finish all the bid documents and the specifications, contracts.
Okay,
We're probably looking at probably a 3-week bidding period
okay.
where the project's out advertised for bids, contractors can look at the plans and whatnot.
So we're out a couple months.
Yeah, we're out about 2 months. Then we'll do a bid opening, bid recommendation, and bring it back to the board.
I see. And the timeline you had for the 90,000, you think we would know that before the end of this calendar year?
We should know, they said probably October, November, what
Gotcha.
their decision is.
Okay. All right, good.
I do have a comment. Mr. Witt came and talked to me about this project, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I don't know, we discussed it. But like I mentioned, Mr. Witt, I just want to go on record as saying that, this is government. And if we're going to do it, let's just do it right. Do it right now and be done with it. Whenever we say, we'll do something later, in government, it's always, we don't have the money, we can't do this, we can't do that. If you're gonna do the project, whether or not we get the $90,000, I think we should just go ahead and make the investment. If we get that extra $90,000 grant money, that's fine. We can put it toward the project. But I think we should do the project. Certainly, some of the most important aspects of this project are the driveway and the canopy and the entrance. That's why we started this project in the first place, and it seems to me that why would we not reconfigure that driveway to a more usable way? I mean, right, I don't know if anybody's been over there, but it's sort of, there's no exit out. There should be an exit at the side of that senior center to pull the buses up, drop people off, and then continue on. My opinion is, do the project, and let's be done with it, and then that's set for the next 20 years or whatever. 30 years.
I can honestly say I was of a like mind until I knew that $90,000 might be available for next year. We'll have to, and
But that's what I said. I said, we should do the plans with these additional items.
Sure.
Right? And if the money comes in from the county, that's great.
Yep,
But
except-
if it doesn't, I'm gonna push to do all of these extra items right now, because we never get to them. It's gonna be 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and we're gonna say, oh, we should have done it. I mean,
There's a
remember,
catch, though.
remember, this project started 10 years ago. You know, the senior center needed a canopy. Every time that door opens up, I don't know if anybody's been there, cold air comes in, warm air rushes in. It's, we should have put something, even a $3,000 or $4,000 dual door 10 years ago.
Mr. Witt, is there, I think what you were getting at, though, is that if the additional 90,000 was awarded, and we paid for this in advance out of general funds, it couldn't be applied towards this.
correct, you cannot
So-
pre-commit dollars
Right,
for
so let
grant
me ask
funds.
this question. I hear what you're saying,
Yeah.
Mr. York. I think this is a worthwhile project. Is there a way to proceed without approving the additional expenses right now? And if we can wait till October to see if the funds come in and then include? I'm just saying, could we be wiser to just postpone that decision?
Part of the issue is, and I understand where you're going, when you're committing the dollars, there's a time frame in which we have to spend them. And it is December of next year, but when you work with contractors who are out in the weather, I don't know what time frame they're really gonna need to get this project done. If for whatever reason the bidding takes longer, we have some irregularities that requires this project to already get pushed into next year, you know, we're then working with it within the time frame. We can always add the work on later next year. We can't pre-commit any of those monies, and
Yeah.
the program's weird, and it might not happen.
Just a technicality.
Correct, right.
Is what it is.
But let's say this, and we've had conversation about this before. I think the board is in unison from the notion that, like you said, Mr. York, we need to finish this work. The thing is we do need to be wise on how we schedule the bids, because there's, now, if this project finishes, let's just say that we can't do all of this work and there is no money available, that 90,000 for some reason isn't available and the county decides to stick with a 3-year schedule or some other
Yes.
schedule. We have the opportunity at some point later in time to spend non-federally regulated dollars and have a different bidding process available to us. But if we make certain decisions early in the process, it can impact what we can do and how we can spend it. So at this point, we're not committing to do all of the work or none of the work. We're committing to have the plans finished and go through the bidding process and make sure that the engineer, because Wade Trim is used to working with Davis Bacon restricted dollars, bids this out to give us the full amount of flexibility so that at a later date, this board can vote to do all the work, some of the work with federal dollars, and then finish with non-federally restricted dollars, where we can usually get a little bit more work done per dollar.
So right now, this evening, we're not approving the expenditure, we're approving the
Construction
drawing
plans.
and the,
Construction document.
right.
Correct. Yep.
All right. And at some point, hopefully, we would understand whether or not those funds will become available.
I fully
That's all.
expect, and that was what the whole point, I fully expect that before this board, before this decision, or this issue is back before this board for decision, we'll have answers to whether or not the county is gonna switch to a 1-year or stick with a 3-year schedule of
And
allocation.
let me just be clear about my questions. I mean, we have a limited general fund. And so if we need to be mindful.
Sure.
You know,
Can
the
use
the
grant
main
dollars.
project is over by 40 or 50,000, okay. Very valid. I mean, I get it. But when we talk about another 40 or 50,000, and if there's a possibility of using other funds to do that, I'd just like to make sure we can take advantage of it
Yep.
if that situation arises.
Yep,
That's all.
absolutely. We've had a fair amount of deliberation, but actually.
Motion to
We don't,
approve.
yep, I don't think we have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the Tucker Senior Center expansion plans, and to direct Wade Trim to bid the project out with the results to be brought back to the board for approval.
Got a motion by Mr. Tominello, with support by Mr. York. I don't know if there is discussion, we've had a fair amount already. If it's okay, I'll open up the floor for public comment.
William Bardell. Yeah, basically, yeah, you're singing to the choir on this. Good idea. The only thing that I saw on there was on the extra, on the awning, the cement pad, I believe it was, the price on that cement pad was double what it should be. So I don't know if there's a little cushion to push there to, but that's $10,000. $10,000 is $10,000. So scroll down, there's that cement pad on that extra, and that's double the price, so you want that half the price, whatever that cement pad underneath that awning. It should be half the price. Thank you.
Thank you.
Claire Fackler, 26380's Beamer, and secretary for the Harrison Township Senior Friendship Club. I've been going there a lot of years now. And you're saying you're gonna do like an airlock. Right now, we have the awning, but it's direct access straight into the door. And man, when that door opens and that wind is blowing, it just whistles right on through. So that's a concern, which needs to be addressed. But the second driveway, for anybody who's been around more than 5 years, you know there were two driveways. One was an entrance and one was an exit, and it was never used properly. People were coming in the out and out the in, and so they decided to just make one access for this. I know Linda's here and she'll probably argue the point, and I understand why they want to have it, because it'd be so neat to be able to just pull in and pull right up to the doorway and open the door, and these people could get out and not be killed with the weather, because they have a bit of a walk right now, the way it's set up. But I would delay that portion of it. If push comes to shove, have that second driveway shelved for the moment to help save the money.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Seeing no public comment, we'll close the floor for public comment. I'll try to address some of the issues. Regarding the numbers and the prices for the estimates, at this point, these are engineers' estimates. These aren't actual bids. So, you know, there could be something that the engineer saw in there that they felt they needed to budget for. But at this point, really what we've asked Mr. Newmer to do is to give us an idea, what will this project cost? These numbers could come, the estimates could come in higher or lower. This is just the engineer's estimate based on unit prices from other similar projects. Regarding the vestibule, the design shows a roughly a double set of doors coming into a 12 by 19 room, so a sizable room. That room will then have two doors in it, one door to the left, which will go into the current space, and a door to the right that would go into the new space. So we can actually use keys and alarm codes to make separate rooms available at various times, or at a bare minimum during the colder or warmer months, have a space where you can literally come in from the outside, you know, for lack of a better room, maybe some folks might call it a mud room in their own home, you know, set down your umbrella if it happens to be that kind of weather, or a chance to get out of the weather, then to move into their other space without a blow-through. And then actually a clarification, this plan, because we discussed the second driveway, and what we discussed was that the second driveway came with its own challenges. What Mr. Newmer has proposed is different than a second driveway. So if you think of the rectangular parking lot with a common driveway that's, I guess it would be to the north, sort of, it's a little awkward there, but that driveway would remain from Ballard Road to the parking lot. However, as opposed to just pulling up directly to the parking spots that are there, there'd be a driveway to the right that would come almost like a horseshoe, come off of the right corner of that driveway as you approach the senior center, circle around in front of the senior center, and then curve back into the parking lot. So we'd still have only one entrance and exit, but we would have a bus loop that would be available only for those times when someone, you know, either being dropped off by a friend or by the bus, would be able to pull up close to the canopy and unload the folks who might be at the senior center. I thought that circled around.
No.
Man,
Just as a point of clarification,
Well,
the way the.
I guess I'm thinking of an earlier
The
design.
way the bus lane's drawn right now,
I was
and
gonna say.
part of the,
I
part of
thought
the
that circled
conversation
around.
with the architect for the reason to not do a loop
Right.
is the loop would eliminate, a loop within the parking lot would eliminate a lot of the handicap parking
Okay.
directly near the building.
Yeah, erase that part I said about
So
the
it
loop.
is a one lane exit that is, it would be, someone would have to like make just a real mistake to pull in there. It wouldn't be the convenient route for anybody to go, as an entrance. I mean, it's designed to be an exit. There's curves within it, that wouldn't make it the quickest way into the parking lot. It wouldn't be the easiest way into the parking lot. It would be the most difficult way if you tried to go backwards through this one-way loop out for buses, so.
Yeah, I think we talked about an earlier loop to maintain in, and you're right, it killed a bunch of the
There's a lot
spots
of
that
that,
were
lot of the
parallel or
this,
close to
and
the
this
loop.
actually provides a lot of closer handicap spots to the building, that don't, right now we have to, a lot of the spots that would be painted for handicap are parked at, as a loading zone for buses, so it allows some of the handicap parking to be a little bit closer and more direct to the building.
All right, further discussion, board members? Hearing none, and we've closed public comment. We've got a motion by Mr. Tominella with support by Mr. York to approve the Tucker Senior Center expansion plans and to direct Wade Trim to bid the project out with the results to be brought back to the board for approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Next on our agenda is item E1. Board members, attached to your board packets is the municipal credit and community credit contract for fiscal year 2016 between SMART and the Charter Township of Harrison, along with the necessary backup material to receive these funds. These credits help to fund our Dial-A-Ride, shopping shuttle, and summer shuttle services. To receive our credits, the board must approve the signing of the contract. For fiscal year 2016, we will receive $24,168 in municipal credits and $66,671 in community credits, maintaining the same funding levels as fiscal year 2015. I would recommend a motion to approve the SMART Municipal Credit and Community Credit Contract for fiscal year 2016 as presented.
So moved.
All right, we've got a motion by Mr. Witt. Was that Mr. Brado?
No.
Oh, Mr. Caprell, I'm sorry. Motion by Mr. Witt with support by Mr. Caprell to approve the SMART Municipal Credit and Community Credit Contract for fiscal year 2016 as presented. I don't know if there's any board comment. Hearing none, we'll open up the floor for public comment.
Linda Karczewski, resident. As you know, I'm the bus driver. But I will tell you, everybody that comes on that bus just thanks you, and thanks you. A lot of them would never get out of their place where they live if it wasn't for that bus. Some of them really that come on that bus could not afford even the $1 that some places charge each way. That would be $2 for them to go up to the store. I had one lady I took today, and she said she doesn't know how she would do it because she could barely walk, and she has a very hard time seeing. And I took her over to Myers today, and she said she don't know what she would do without the buses. So I do want you to know that the people in Harrison Township that ride the bus say thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other public comment, we'll close the floor for public comment. I appreciate those kind words. I think the same goes for our drivers. I think that we have a dedicated group of drivers, and they're performing a community service. I know I've received calls from residents who have, basically asked, for or complimented the service because frequently our drivers go beyond what they're required to do to service a certain segment of the residents in our community and help them to maintain their quality of life. So thank you also to the drivers. Any other comments? Hearing none, we have a motion by Mr. Witt with support by Mr. Caprell to approve the Spark Municipal Credit and Community Credit Contract for fiscal year 2016 as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, board. Next on our agenda is our last item, excuse me, item E2, discussion of salaries for elected officials and their deputies. Board members, the salaries of elected officials and their deputies are set by the Board of Trustees, and in fact, no one else really has the ability to establish our salaries. It's dependent upon us. Salaries for the supervisor, clerk, treasurer, and the 3 deputies have not changed since 2008. During that same time, our peers in other communities, as well as our township employees, have received salary increases. Attached in your board packets is a spreadsheet showing salaries for comparable townships in the county as well as across the state of Michigan. There's also current salaries of various township employees indicated there. This is a difficult subject to address, but one that only we have the ability to do. So I'm requesting that the Board of Trustees begin a discussion on this subject. Board members, in your packet is a comparison of salaries. There are 1,240 townships in the state of Michigan. Based on population, the last time that I looked, we're number 32. So there are an awful lot of townships in our state, but the majority of communities with our population and taxable value, we're a little bit more limited. I prepared a spreadsheet showing the wages for supervisor, clerk, treasurer, and trustee, along with the population of these communities and their square mile and taxable value. We are unique in Harrison Township in that we are 14.5 square miles, but 6 of those are consumed by Selfridge Air Base, which we really don't have any services for or taxable value or really certainly appreciative to have the base in our borders. And the presence of Selfridge has a financial impact on our community. No one lives on the base, so the folks that are stationed there, many of them are residents of our township and surrounding communities. But from a services perspective, we're really limited. We're about 8.5 square miles, yet in that space we have over 860 million in taxable value and just about 26,000 residents. I also indicated the wages for some of the employees that work for the township. And as you can see, the wage for the 3 full-time officials and their deputies, although that isn't indicated here, is quite a bit under the statewide and Macomb County average. Clinton Township, 84,000, Washington, 88,000, Macomb, 90,000, Shelby, 90,000, Chesterfield, 89,500. The average across those communities is about 77,000, and then our wages vary from 55 to 58. So I know this is a sensitive subject because it's difficult to address, but clearly these numbers are substantially lower than our peers, as well as the employees within the various bargaining units in the township. So while I had initially proposed some numbers in an earlier discussion, I know that some of the trustees said, well, we need to begin some dialogue, so I'm proposing this subject in the form of dialogue at this meeting.
Well, I have a couple other facts, and I'm probably gonna be unpopular for saying this, but, you know, there's no easy way to do this, so I'm just gonna say it. Talking with Adam today, I couldn't remember, nobody could remember, when the last time these 3 positions had a raise prior to 2008. Well, we found out it was 2001. Was the last time that, and take the people out of it, but this position. So when Ken exits or Adam exits or next year during an election, anybody can run for these offices. So the salaries attached to these offices, long after we're gone. In 2001, I believe, what did you say, Adam? There was a 3% raise?
Yes.
In 2001. From 2001 to 2008, and I didn't come until 2004, okay? And Ken and Adam was here as a deputy in 2004 as a deputy supervisor, and Ken came in 2010, I believe,
full-time.
as the supervisor.
Yep.
In 2008, the Board of Trustees at that time, on their way out, said, you know, it's been 7 years. Over that time, the unions, the supervisors, the regular supervisors, everybody received probably 3% a year, you know, probably 18% over that time. They decided, the board, we got a $2,000 raise. We made $52,500 from 2004, or 2001 to 2008. In 2008, the board gave us roughly a $2,500 raise, and they gave the trustees, I can't even remember, what, 1,500 or something, Adam, somewhere in that neighborhood?
Something like that.
And along with that, to take out the political nature of this whole salary thing, right? I mean, unfortunately, we have to vote on our own salary, which is odd, but.
It's the reason why it hasn't been addressed.
That's just the way that the process is, and you look at comparables, just like you do with our unions, our fire unions, it all works on comparables. In 2008, we received the positions received a $2,500 raise to bring it to a $55,000 salary. And then moving forward, they were gonna give a 2% raise every year to bring it sort of just moving up a little bit. Well, of course, just like the time period between 2001 and 2008, every time that's brought up, it's a sticky issue. Nobody wants to take it on. You know, it's the same. Well, those positions don't get a raise, so we can be an example for the union, which is fine. I accept that. So this is me talking to the person. I accept that, but then we find out that we go and give the union a 3 and 3.5% raise over those time periods. That's not setting an example. If you set an example, and if people have heard me say this, everybody gets a raise or nobody gets a raise. And that's the way that I feel, and I haven't voted for a union contract since 2004 because of that. And so that's where I'm at. I just want people to understand that when we talk about this, it's been a very, very long time, over a long period of time. It's 2014 that there's been a $2,000 raise for these positions in 13 years.
Certainly, there were some of those years, if we
I
could go back,
understand.
well, I was just gonna say, from 2008 till now, there were definitely some years when our township, our employees took concessions, and the residents that we represent took concessions as well.
I understand.
We've seen a loss in taxable value. We're starting to see that taxable value rebound. Certainly, state equalized value is growing, but the caps associated with Headley and Proposal A limit that taxable value growth. But what we definitely see is that we've turned a corner, certainly as far as some of our neighbors, surrounding communities in terms of wages, where there were several years where there were concessions taken on the part of some of the employees. We've reached the time again where we've been able to, offer some increases, whether it's signing bonuses or salary increases, even though they may be modest in our bargaining units. We've gone through and addressed each bargaining unit, and even our part-time employees and our, the non-union employees, bus drivers, so forth. And at some point, no matter how we do it, at some point, we need to address this. The numbers don't line up in any way at all. And it's hard to bring up, it's hard to talk about, but nobody else can do it.
So for example, back when I came on in 2004, I believe we were at 52 in the Chesterfield. This is just an example. The Chesterfield trustee, they were at 60,000 roughly. They have substantially increased over that time period to 89 and 79,000. I'm not saying go that high. I'm just, as an example, saying that you need to look at that.
February of
But-
2015, Chesterfield raised the supervisor's salary from 60,000 to 89,500.
Oh, okay, so that happened
was February
recently.
15, yeah.
Okay, I didn't know when that happened. I'm just looking at.
Washington Township went from 63,300 to 88,000 in March of 14.
There you go.
Yeah, so in several of the communities. Now, let me say
Can
that
I just finish?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was answering your question, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So when you compare our salaries, or whoever's here, I want to don't want to make it personal. The supervisor, treasurer, and clerk we sort of run the township, right? But when you look at our pay on the scale, we're in probably lower 35% of all the people in the township. Our supervisors, the assessor makes $84,400 a year. That's a person that's under Mr. Verkest. Our public services director makes $93,870, once again under the direct supervision of Ken. The building official, does he make 78 or is that the top out?
But for both of those, that's the top. They're in steps that are lower, so that's what
Okay,
the
so
two
3
numbers are.
years, that's the top step. So right now, I'll take that back. Right now, our building services director is at 82,000. I believe he has a 3-year step, is it? 3-year step?
Sounds right.
It's a 3-year step, so 3 years, he'll be making $93,870. Our building official is currently making $65,000, and he's gonna top out in 2 years because he's a new employee at $78,000. Our finance director makes $72,000, which probably a little low. Glenn hasn't taken, our finance director has not taken any increases in it contractually.
Contractual.
That we have given him over the last probably 3 or 4 years. Our fire chief makes $85,000. A battalion chief, $88,000. I don't know if that includes the buy-ins. Does that include the buy-ins?
I don't know what you mean by that. I'm
All
sorry.
right, so $88,000. I signed the checks, and I can tell you our battalion chief.
Oh, these are base salaries.
Yeah,
This
this is
doesn't
base
include
salary.
7%.
So, battalion chief, they get 10%. That's base salary, and then the firemen get 10% for paramedic and some other buy-ins.
7.
So, the battalion chiefs, I know, average about $115,000 a year with the extra contractual stuff. Lieutenants, they're probably about 90, 95. Sergeants, about 80. A regular firefighter makes just the just bottom firefighter, $66,291. Our foreman from the water sewer department, they make $65,000. Our water sewer, just water sewer men that work out in the field, they make roughly $53,000 a year, roughly. They have some overtime that can be added to that. And I would also say, the very last thing, and I've made this point since 2004. We have a salary, and we don't get paid, or the treasurer, supervisor, and clerk by law, we don't get paid for any extra meetings at all. We just get a salary. The trustees, they get, $9,500 a year just for being a trustee. Plus, they get an additional $50, I believe.
50 per meeting.
They get a $50
For extra or special
per
meeting.
meeting stipend for a special meeting that we might have, which hasn't happened a lot on this board. Back between 2004 and 2008, there seemed to be 2 or 3 meetings a week. But I've always said that our salary is really the $55,000 minus the $9,500 for our
Appearance at meetings.
our work as trustees, because you have so really we make about $46,000 a year if you logically look at it, which puts us at an account bookkeeper level in the township. And whatever the board decides, that's up to you, but I think that there is more than ample logic and reasoning that it's time to adjust these salaries, mainly because there's an election next year. And whoever might want to run, that's what the salary will be set as for the next year. You're not doing this at the beginning of a term, it's at the end of a term. So whoever takes these salaries moving forward, that's the way it is. It just seems odd that you work as a supervisor, and it's fine that we pay the supervisors, people would say that we pay them too much, we don't. But the people that run the township the salaries aren't even in the 50th percentile of all the employees. That just doesn't seem right.
No.
Mr. Huth, is that all right? I saw Mr.,
And that's all I have to say. I was just giving those comparables.
sure.
You know, I usually try not to take part in the conversation, but one part I thought I'd put my historian hat on, and when the, just to mention that when the current Congresswoman was the supervisor here, it didn't work this way. When she got into office, there was a compensation commission, and the board did not set their own salaries. And what happened, the place was packed, and people said that it is a way for the board not to address what they're really doing here, put people on the compensation committee, let them choose their salary instead of the board kind of, as the quote says, as my kids say, man up and tell everyone what your salary is. So that's how it evolved here in Harrison Township to what we have now, where the residents just demanded, set your own salary and be upfront with it, and we got to.
The compensation commission became more controversial.
It really did, because it was a concern that the board members were not meeting the residents and saying, here's what we think our pay should be. And that's how it evolved to this.
Right, yeah, that process, it's an option, and not all communities use it. I'm not, of those communities that I'm familiar with, I hear less communities that utilize the compensation commission than those that just address it. That's number one. And number two, realistically, my take on that is this: a compensation commission makes a recommendation to this board. This board still has to act on the recommendations of the compensation commission by either default, ignoring it, in which case it takes over, or by actually taking action to vote. So no matter what happens, and I think it's an important designation, no matter what happens, we are the ones, and there is no other way. We cannot relinquish that authority. And that's the reason why we're talking about this now, because nobody's wanted to talk about it. And certainly during bad times, we had no business talking about it. But we've reached a point where we're starting to see growth in the township, and we're starting to see contracts, even with our own employee unions, that include enhancements, and at some point, it needs to be addressed. Now, I do believe there's an opportunity to, what I see in our neighboring communities where, perhaps maybe large, from a percentage standpoint, large increases. I believe we have an opportunity to address this in steps, meaning that the election in 2016 requires that everyone takes office November 20th of 2016. So if there's a will on the part of this board to address the wages of the 3 full-time officials and their appointed deputies, it doesn't have to be addressed in one fell swoop. It could be addressed. There could be, for lack of a better word, a target number that this board is comfortable with, and some compromise number in the short term with a goal to work toward a target number effective the next term. But that's just food for thought. As you know, I'm not making a motion on this, so all I can do is contribute to discussion.
Well, I think some of the points that you're making have value. I do believe that the 3 full-time positions are underpaid at this point. If you compare them on a spreadsheet against themselves over a course of time. I don't agree with some of the townships that you're comparing yourselves against. Some of these townships are significantly larger than we are. So I think that drives the average number up, which we shouldn't be doing that. And I don't think that, I don't know why you're doing this, but I don't think you should be comparing your positions with these 9 positions that are technical positions that the 3 full-time officials are not qualified to do. I mean, you're not qualified to be a fire chief or a finance director or an assessor. So you shouldn't be comparing yourselves against those positions. It's an apple and an orange. An administrator in a
finance director.
An administrator in a hospital is not gonna make as much money as a surgeon is. So it's, you can't expect that you're gonna make as much money as some of these positions, because it's just not the way the system is set up. Now, again, I don't disagree that the pay scale it's off kilter for sure. But it's been off kilter for a course of a long period of time. So I do agree that it's gonna take some time to get it back to what's reasonable. And I also think that the deputies should be separated. I think the three deputies should be a separate line item than the three elected officials.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
They're at-will employees. They shouldn't even be included in this.
Well, no, it's meaning that the discussion has to occur by this board, because there's
Yeah,
no,
I
there's
don't
no
think
process
they-
of negotiation.
They're at-will employees, and they're appointed, and it's a whole separate, they should be decided on over here, and the elected officials should be decided on over here. They're two different kinds of positions. So I don't think grouping them together is the right thing to do.
No, for a point of clarification, those wages have been addressed at the same rate that the three full-time officials have been, or the raises that have gone the same way. Historically, in those years, '01 and '08, those numbers were addressed simultaneously.
Okay.
The other point of clarification, in the case of the deputies, you're talking about a $45,000 position with a limited set of benefits and an at-will employee. The majority of the clerical employees make a greater amount than than the deputies do. So I'm not suggesting that those numbers should be comparable here, but when we talk about some sort of a percent increase or some sort of recommendation, we can't ignore three other
absolutely
people.
not.
That's
No.
all I was proposing.
No, absolutely not. They have to be included.
And it's hard, and I'll tell you this, it's also hard to look at comparables, because amongst these townships, there is no township that's our size or our dimension, number one. There is no comparison.
Yeah.
Almost every township is 36 square miles,
Yeah,
that's
I'm
the
not
way
looking at
land was laid
dimension.
out. The other thing is not every township has deputies in the same role that we do. So for example, my peers in other communities may have a deputy that plays a more limited role, but they might then in turn have clerical staff. So each of us get one deputy. That's the person that, for lack of a better word, works in a clerical role, answering phones, assisting in general office duties, as well as representing you in a variety of ways. But not every community has that.
Right.
We'll also see, there are some of the comparisons that are in here. There's a handful of townships that are in this range in terms of taxable value or population that choose to go with a city manager type management. So they have a reduced authority given to some of their officials, and they have a delegation of that responsibility to a city manager, in this case a superintendent, typically a township manager.
And my other point was Glenn has foregone raises for some time now, so.
Yeah.
4 or 5
He needs
years.
to be adjusted.
Right,
So it's-
correct, right.
Well, I only brought that up because I
Yeah.
saw.
No, I
it
mean,
on
I already
the
knew
media.
that was.
There's a renewal, yeah, the chief's been here 7 years, and that's the same salary that he started with 7 years ago, the fire chief. So
I don't
both
have a
the
problem
finance
with his
director.
salary, though.
What's that?
I don't have a problem with his salary.
Well, and as you compare it to his peers, you know,
Yeah.
the point being that the finance director and the fire chief have either have had contractual raises